So after finishing Cyberpunk Edgerunner, one question that I have for CD Projekt Red is, did all the budget for the game went into this show? Because holy hell, this show is amazing. Whoever thought of getting Studio Trigger to animate this show deserves a raise. Studio Trigger was perfect for this show. Studio Trigger did an amazing job with everything in this show. And this is coming from me. I'm not really a big fan of Studio Trigger when it comes to anime, because the previous shows that this studio has produced could qualify as a softcore hentai. I mean, how can you concentrate on a serious fight when they're half-naked anime girls with huge titties moving around everywhere? I would watch a fight in Kill la Kill and all of a sudden my wee would just rise up from the depths of hell out of nowhere. I could not watch SSS Squidman without thinking about Rika's thighs. But with my horniness problem out of the way, for 10 episodes they did a great job telling the story. With the short amount of time that they had, they made it to where everything was happening so fast, but nothing of importance was cut out. The story of Cyberpunk Edgerunners is about a kid named David that's struggling with everything in school, while his mom works her ass off trying to pay the bills for his tuition. And when I say she's working her ass off, I don't mean she's on OnlyFans or the hub, alright? You sick freaks. I mean she's actually busting her ass. Alright, I'm gonna stop. She's working very hard normal jobs, okay? Then of course when David is doing bad in school, the teacher calls in the parent to talk about David, and in the car on the way home when they were fighting is when the show throws everything at you super fast and things get super intense quickly. They get into a car accident, the mom dies, the MC is depressed now and left to survive on his own. David gets beat up in school, then he gets one of the greatest power of all time, then beats up the top kid in the school. This all happened in a span of 1 1/4 of an episode. Everything from the car crash onward was so intense, and they did this by having a sick OST playing in the background with super nice sound effects. Even just David jumping down to those boxes was intense. And side note, I love the way that they introduced the world of Cyberpunk for the viewers by having David walk and running around the city to the school. We get to see how this world operates and the people that are living in it. Then after all these things happen, he meets Worst Girl, aka Lucy, and I don't want to hear it. She's not a good waifu at all. I saw some people saying that she's like 02, but nah, she ain't. She's a terrible waifu in my opinion, and I will explain why later in the video. After he meets her and steals some stuff with her is where the show really gets super interesting and fun. We get to see more of Night City on how colorful and vibrant it is, but most importantly we get introduced to the main criminal organization that David is going to be hanging out with for the rest of the show. Now you guys don't know this about me, but I love criminal organizations in anime when done correctly. The Akatsuki, the Phantom Troops, the Espada, I like them all. There's just something about a group of people planning something, acting upon it, and returning back to their hideout that I like. Maybe I'm just weird, that's probably it. And David's group did just that. However, the difference between David's group and all the other organizations is that David's group shows us all the detail in their plan, explains everything to us. They even show them talking with each other in real time when they were executing the plan. Cyberpunk Edgerunner gives the plan more life to it rather than just, hey, go capture the one tail. Okay, there's actual strategy involved, backup plans, and moments where the main character has to adapt and overcome. And this is due to how well the writers balance out these characters. In these other different criminal organizations, except for the Phantom Troops, they tend to just have one top guy being so overpowered to where nobody can touch him except for the main character. In Cyberpunk Edgerunner, they make David overpowered by giving him an ability that can stop time for everyone except him, but it's super costly for his sanity and health, so he can't spam the ability. Plus, the ability seems to have a time limit on it every time David uses it. And I also think the criminal that David is hanging out with are not portrayed as the enemy, whereas in other shows, the dangerous organization are the enemy. That could be why we get to see how thought out and detailed these missions are. But anyways, when David's group goes on this mission, it's super intense, fun, and appealing to the eyes. I haven't seen a fun car ride in anime for a while, ever since Initial D. The way that David crosses to another lane on his car was something so creative and unique. I have never seen an anime do this before. And it works too. It works because Studio Trigger's art style fits it so well. If it was any other studio, I don't think the car chase or the jumping would have been as cool or wouldn't have worked at all. Then after they escape from the obvious side characters, the show just gets even better. We get to learn more about David's ability. I like this guy, by the way. He's basically a fortune teller. Honestly, I think he is actually. He might look like an insane psycho, and he probably is, but at least he's still better than her in my opinion. He actually tried to save him somewhat. He warned him about his future, but he was right. David met the same fate as the first person that had that power. Then after this guy dies, the show gets even better. David is finally hanging out with the real best girl, and yes, they have met each other before, but they weren't really talking and hanging out. And one touch that I really like about this show is that the traps actually work. They literally had a guy that was stupid and acted carelessly step into a trap, and his blood just goes flying everywhere. Everything in this show is great until we get into the ending. Now the ending is where I start to hate Lucy, and let me explain. She didn't give David no box. The only thing that Lucy gave this man was a kiss, and she probably smoked before giving that kiss. Why could you just give my boy David the box? But for real though, the reason why I don't like her is because she's basically sacrificing every one of her friends just for her dreams. Lucy didn't care for David as much as Rebecca did. Rebecca worries about David's safety. In episode 8, she warned David about the allied psycho, and she doesn't want David to turn out like her bro. But Lucy wasn't that concerned about David's safety. Now, did she care for David? Yes, but I don't think she cares that much much about him as Rebecca did. David was my boy, and he died for her to go to the moon. And yes, I know Night City is trash, and it's basically a meat grinder there. It's a terrible place to live, and I can understand why Lucy wanted to escape and be a legend. But bro, what is she actually gonna do on the moon? Just think about it. She's all alone. There's basically no entertainment. The only thing she has left is her memories, and that's about it. What is she actually gonna do there? If I were her, I would just keep living in the Night City rather than being alone on the moon with nothing to do. Sure, she has freedom, but what's she actually gonna do? Also, in a way, I think that Lucy used David for her personal goals. She saw how powerful he was, and she dragged him into a dangerous organization where he will most likely be killed. And yes, I know it's David's choice if he wants to hang around them or not, but David was a young, dumb, naive kid. He doesn't really understand much about life yet, and he doesn't really have a parenting figure in his life. Now, she probably doesn't know about David's backstory in the beginning, but why would you even want him to work with you in the first place? Once he catches the chip out of your hand, you should have just let go, said bye, and never see him again. But nah, she saw how good his ability was, and now she wants him to work with her. If that was Rebecca, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't even have invited David to her room. But with all that being said, she isn't like a super terrible waifu. She is genuine and real, but I think she just has the wrong priority. The ending of the show was bittersweet in my opinion. I think David dying was not really good. What the show could have done, or should have done, is remove David's ability and all of his power and just leave him powerless. But he gets to live and go on the moon with her, or they could still give him that power and make him live in Night City, but he doesn't use that power anymore. If they did want those options, I think the ending would have been a lot better. I didn't want to see David having the same fate as this guy, but other than the ending and her dumb dreams, this show was great. The show is super gruesome and I love it. Every episode of the show, they're just upping on how disgusting and violent the show gets. You can hear the gunshots, the blood, David's psychological problems, the explosion. Pretty much all of the sound effects in this show is great. It really makes you feel how dangerous and crazy these people are in Night City. And the music just fits so well with everything. This is probably one of the best shows that Studio Trigger has produced, without it being over sexualized or complete trash. And I know some of you guys are saying right now, Darling in the France wasn't that bad. And yes, I agree with you, the show is not that bad. It's completely trash. Whoever said that this show was okay or blinded by 02's ass. Let's just be real, this show was complete trash. It was not good. If it wasn't for 02 being such a great waifu and being super popular, this show would have not been great at all. If you just take 02 out of Darling in the France and replace it with some basic girl, I promise you, nobody would care about this show at all. And for the few that do, they're not gonna like it, and they're probably gonna score it super low. But with 02's cheeks out of the way, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is on par with shows like Mob Psycho, Jujutsu Kaisen, and maybe Gurren Lagann. If this show was longer, I think it would have been like Gurren Lagann. If Cyberpunk Edgerunner was like 13 episodes, I think it would have made the show a lot better, because we still don't understand everything about the Cyberpunk world. And what about David's dad? I know he's just like the typical anime dad where he leaves his son, but I would like to know a lot more about David's dad. The fact that David can handle this power for this long period of time must mean that you have some good genetics. And you know if the son is overpowered, the dad is gonna be even more overpowered. Just look at Gon's dad, Soma's dad. You know damn well David's dad is super strong. I would also like to see more of Night City and what the city has to offer. I would like to see more screen time of the other characters that David is hanging out with, especially Rebecca and this guy. But even if it's 10 episodes, they still did a great job with that amount of episodes. My other problem with the show is they made the final villain or boss to be kind of boring. He just looks like a supporting character in my opinion. Like he shouldn't be the final boss. He looks like the final boss's right hand man. But this could be how I see it. Otherwise, there's not much to complain about this show. Cyberpunk Edgerunner overall is a solid 8.7 out of 10 in my book. Everything about it is just great except for her. Lucy is a freaking terrible waifu. Sure, there's some redeeming qualities about her, like how she's loyal. She's a hot badass hacker chick, but other than that, she's not a good waifu in my eyes. Rebecca is way better than her. Her assets might not be bigger than Lucy, but she's way more rational than Lucy. But yeah, that's it. Cyberpunk Edgerunner is a great anime. This is the type of anime I would recommend for people to watch without a second thought. And this is just a great way to introduce more gamers to the world anime. This anime came out of left field, dude, and it was freaking awesome. When I saw that this show got announced, I thought it was gonna be bad because CD Projekt Red did a terrible job with the game. The game failed horribly. There were so many bugs and glitches, but no, they did an amazing job with the anime. They picked out the perfect studio to animate their work. I thought that CD Projekt Red didn't have the budget to make a good anime. I thought that this show was gonna be terrible, but it turns out I was wrong. If you enjoyed this video, like and sub. Later. Hey yo, fuck this guy for killing the queen.